Students, we have already studied about executive, about legislature, the two organs of the government. Today we are going to study about the third organ of the government, the judiciary. The three organs of government: legislature, which is the lawmaking body; executive, the one that is responsible for implementing the law; and judiciary, whose task is to interpret the law and grant justice to all. So, we will be studying about the judicial organ of the government. The Union Judiciary. It is the third organ of the government and it interprets the law of the land. So, all the law, the rules, and regulations which are given in the constitution, it is all interpreted by the judiciary. The judiciary only ensures that everybody, be it any citizen, individual, or be it any great organization, and even the government, everyone has to follow the law. This is ensured by the judiciary. It punishes the ones who do not follow the law. The lawbreakers are punished by the judiciary. It protects the rights, especially the FR, that is the fundamental rights of citizens. We have been granted certain fundamental rights and they are protected by the judiciary. The judiciary ensures that nobody, not even the government, can take away the fundamental rights of the citizens. It safeguards the constitution. The judiciary ensures that nobody, not even the government, the officials in power, they can misinterpret the constitution or misuse their power. They ensure that the constitution is, everyone abides by the constitution. If there is any dispute between individuals, between organizations, companies, or even if it is dispute with the government, even in that case, it is all settled by the judiciary. Our judicial system in our country, it is a single integrated judiciary system. What does that mean? Single integrated? That the entire judiciary system is integrated, interlinked. We know that the Supreme Court, it is the apex court, it means it is the highest court in our country, the highest authority for imparting justice, for interpreting the law, is the Supreme Court. There is only one Supreme Court in our country, in Delhi, and it is the highest, court, highest judiciary body. Then there are high courts at the lower level. At in each state and union territories, there is a high court, and at even local level, regional levels, there are smaller courts, the subordinate courts. They could be district courts, session courts, and so on. And these all courts are linked to each other. We know whenever there is any problem, dispute that arises, we approach the subordinate courts. The first step to do is to approach the subordinate courts, which will give a decision. If we are not happy or satisfied with the judgment, we can then go and approach the high court. The high court will then look into the matter and it will pass a judgment. If suppose we are not satisfied with the decision or the judgment passed by the high court, then we can go and appeal to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court. Whatever decision is taken by the Supreme Court is the final decision and it is to be abided by everyone has to follow that decision. So we see that this entire system is linked. There are subordinate courts, we move step by step, then to the high court and then to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court, the apex court. So this system is all interlinked and integrated. It integrates into one setup where the final authority lies with the Supreme Court. And that is why ours is a single integrated judiciary system. Ours is also an independent judiciary. What is meant by independent judiciary? That the judicial organ of the government functions independently. There is no interference by the executive, by the legislature. Neither the parliament can interfere in the judgment making process, nor the executive, nor the government or any official, high ranking official, prime minister, president, or anybody. They cannot interfere in the matters of the judiciary. The judicial system works independently. This is to ensure that nobody misuses their power. The prime minister, the president, or any high ranking official, they do not misuse their power to influence the judiciary. So the judicial system, the judiciary, is independent in our country. Talking about the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the apex court, that is the highest court in our country. There is only one Supreme Court, the highest court, and it is located in New Delhi, and it is functioning since 1950. 1950, when our constitution was enforced, from then onwards, the Supreme Court is functioning. Its decisions are binding and applied to the whole country. No matter it is a small common citizen, it's just a rickshawala or anybody, or even if it is the prime minister or president, everyone has to follow, has to accept the judgment passed by the Supreme Court. Composition. The Supreme Court consists of the Chief Justice of India and a number of other judges. So it is the Supreme Court which consists of the Chief Justice of India, and there will be certain other judges. It can have a maximum of 30 judges. But this number can be changed if an act is passed in the parliament which suggests that the number of judges should be increased, then that can be done only after an act is passed by the parliament. Until then, it is a maximum, there can be 30 judges, and there is a Chief Justice of India. Talking about the Chief Justice of India, the CJI, the senior most judge in the Supreme Court, the senior most judge, he is usually appointed as the Chief Justice of India. Who appoints him? He is appointed by the President after the President consults the other judges of the Supreme Court and also the judges of the High Court. So the President will consult the judges of the Supreme Court and of the High Court, and then giving preference is given to the senior most judge, and then he is usually appointed as the Chief Justice of India. How are the other judges of the Supreme Court appointed? They are also appointed by the President, but now the President will consult the Chief Justice of India. After Chief Justice of India has been appointed, the President will consult him, and then he will go on to appoint the other judges of the Supreme Court. Eligibility criteria. If you wish to become the judge of the Supreme Court someday, what are you required to do? First of all, the person must be of Indian nationality. Then he must be an advocate of a high court or of two or more any such courts in succession for at least 10 years. So he should have been an advocate at least in a high court for 10 years. Then after being an advocate in a high court or any such court for 10 years, he should also have been a judge of a high court for at least 5 years. First, as a must have served as an advocate for 10 years, then must have had an experience of being a judge at any of the high court for at least 5 years. Or in case he does not hold the experience of 5 years as a judge of a high court, he should be an eminent jurist. That is, he should be a very famous judge in the president's opinion. If the president feels that there is a very well known judge who might not hold the experience of 5 years in a high court but is very well known judge, even he stands a chance to become the judge in the Supreme Court. Term of office. So there is no fixed term. They hold office until 65 years of age. As it is, they acquire a lot of age after having served for, as an advocate for 10 years, then at least 5 years as a judge. So after that only they become eligible to become, the judges of Supreme Court. So by that time they have already attained a lot of age. So age is the limit for them. They can hold office until 65 years of age. The Supreme Court judges, as we studied, they are appointed by the President, but they are not removed by the President. There is a procedure to remove the judge of a Supreme Court. Let us see how does the removal from office happen. Judges can be dismissed on grounds of misuse of office. If a judge is found to be misusing his power as a judge, he is being partial in passing a judgment. If it is found that he's corrupt, he's not exercising his power in an impartial manner, if he has misbehaved or is in incapacity, that is, he's incapable of delivering his duties, in that case he can be dismissed or removed from the office. They are removed through a process which is given in the constitution. What is that process? First of all, both the houses of the parliament, the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, they have to pass a resolution separately. So a resolution has to be passed in Lok Sabha, and a resolution also has to be passed in the Rajya Sabha that says, okay, this particular judge or these many judges need to be removed from the office because of so and so reason. Then that resolution, for it to be passed, the number of people, the number of members who are present in that house at that point of time and voting, two-thirds of the members present and voting should be passing the resolution. And that number should not be less than the majority of the total membership of the house. That is to say, if suppose the total membership of the one house is 200, then it should not be less than the majority of total membership of the house. Majority is 50%. If there are 200 members, so at least more than 100 people, 100 members should be voting that this resolution should be passed. So more than 100 people should be present and voting, and not just that. If suppose there are 150 people voting at that point of time, then two-thirds of 150 people, they must also pass this resolution. So two-thirds, this is important, there are two factors. Two-thirds majority of the members present and voting, and the two-thirds majority of the members present and voting should pass a resolution, and that number should not be less than the majority of the total membership of the house. So if the total membership is 200, at least 100 should have passed the resolution, and if 150 are present, then two-thirds of it should be present and voting for the resolution. So remember, this is a very it could be slightly complex, but these two are the requirement for bringing about the resolution to remove any judge of the Supreme Court. The powers of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can pass a judgment of both civil and criminal cases. Civil dispute at the family level, at the individual level, organizational level, and criminal cases like murder, theft, and so on, conspiracies and all. Then it also takes up cases which concern the Constitution of India, because the Constitution of India can be finally interpreted by the Supreme Court of India. So it takes up cases concerning the Constitution of India. Basically, the Supreme Court of India has three kinds of jurisdiction, three kinds of fields where it exercises its power: original, appellate, and advisory jurisdiction. Let us understand that. First, original jurisdiction. We studied how when there is a dispute or any problem, then we first approach the subordinate courts. After a judgment is passed, we are not satisfied, then we go to High Court, and then finally we go to the Supreme Court if we are not happy with the lower court's judgment. It is a step-by-step procedure. But sometimes there are some issues which are very important, and those decisions cannot be taken by these lower courts or the High Court. In that case, these cases are directly brought to the Supreme Court. So some cases are filed in the Supreme Court directly for the first time, because only Supreme Court has the authority to take such important decisions. And since these cases, they are directly for the first time coming to Supreme Court, they are originating here. That is why it is said that Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in these cases. Now, what are those cases which are so important that can only be brought to the Supreme Court? For example, if there is dispute between states, there are High Court in each state. Now, if there is a dispute between two states, say Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, the High Courts of both the states will be, partial towards their own state government. So, who will settle the dispute? That is why they will go to the Supreme Court for the dispute. Suppose if there is a dispute between central government and the state government, now high courts are at the state level, they cannot take a decision for the central level. So again, such cases go directly to the Supreme Court. If there is violation of constitution, say by any minister, by the government or so if there is violation of constitution by any individual or the government happening, then we directly approach the Supreme Court. If there is violation of fundamental rights, if somebody is taking away our fundamental rights, we have the right to directly go to the Supreme Court and ensure that immediately our fundamental rights are granted to us. So these are certain cases where we directly approach the Supreme Court and it exercises original jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction. Now, appellate cases are the cases that are filed by petitioners against the decisions of the High Court. So, suppose the High Court has given a judgment and the person is not satisfied with the judgment, so that petitioner, the person who is filed, he can go to the Supreme Court. Being the apex court, that is the highest court, the Supreme Court will review the judgment or the decisions of the High Court, and it can, change the decision, it can modify the decision, or it can simply also accept the decision of the High Court, and it will give the judgment accordingly. And now whatever judgment is given by the Supreme Court, it is a final decision. Nobody can change that. Everyone has to follow that. Advisory jurisdiction. The Supreme Court also has the power to give advice, not just giving judgment, but also to give advice. For instance, if sometime the president on any constitutional matters need the advice of the Supreme Court, because Supreme Court can interpret the constitution in the best way, so president can take advice on that matter from the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court will give the advice. However, it is on to the president whether to accept that advice or not. Keep in mind, the president has a choice to accept the advice of the Supreme Court or not, but if a judgment is given by the Supreme Court, then everyone has to accept that. Nobody can deny that. Judgment is to be accepted by everyone. Court of records. The Supreme Court also acts as the court of record. That is, it records and it prints all its proceedings and the judgment. So whenever any case goes to the Supreme Court, the entire procedure is recorded. It is all the printouts are taken out and all the record is kept for us to refer in future cases. Supposedly, say 10 years from now, 20 years from now, a similar dispute comes to the Supreme Court, similar case comes to the Supreme Court, so it can refer to the previous case that has happened, can refer to that judgment and pass the judgment accordingly. So for reference purposes, all the judgments which are passed by the Supreme Court, they are maintained as a record. So these are the functions of the Supreme Court, the highest court in our country.